to the cloud. Okay, we're recording. Great. Now we're going to go back to our presentation and share the screen. Everybody here is part of the Dream Builders team, and we are going to explore the oils of ancient scripture. I hear a bunch of noise somewhere. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah. 10 oils of ancient scripture. I was just talking with Karen about the fact that I have 12 oils of ancient scripture because I bought mine 2 years ago, and two of the oils, spikenard and galbanum, are not available right now. They're in order to sustainably source them, and Young Living is really passionate about getting their plant material from sustainably sourced farms, and if they can't grow their own, so they just won't sell it. So we have 10 oils of ancient scripture, and all of these are great. So let's get started. Oils are mentioned in the Bible over 600 times. There are over 600 references to essential oils or the aromatic plants that that people use either as fragrances, odors, ointments, aromas, perfumes. Incense is mentioned 68 times in the Bible. I love this graphic because it's got all the different not all the different places but in the Bible where it's mentioned, but how many times they are mentioned. They were so important to these ancient peoples. And I would recommend each one of you to get this book, this Healing Oils of the Bible. Does it show it backwards?
No, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing a short version of this class, but if you wanted to at your church, you could do a long version of this class, and in the back in the appendix, he has a Bible oils program you can do, and you can go through slowly, and you can have people read different passages from the Bible that mention the oils and talk about them, and you can have it much more prayerful. Anyway, and this is just an excellent reference. Dr. Stewart is actually a college professor, and he teaches things like chemistry, but he was also a minister. So I think what I like about this book the most is that it comes from a spiritual aspect as well as from a scientific aspect. I would also recommend, before we get much farther into this, this book, which I have not finished, The Chemistry of Essential Oils, Made Simple. When you go out, really? But look at the subtitle. I love this. God's Love Manifest in Molecules. But he writes well enough that I can, me with my liberal arts background, I can understand what he's talking about. So anyway, I would recommend both of those books. And if you get into the Healing Oils of the Bible, you can find much more information about where and how these oils are mentioned. But that's just to kind of get us started. So what are essential oils? Most of us are Young Living distributors, and we already know what essential oils are. But I always like to remind people that, especially when I'm teaching this class, people don't know the difference between an essential oil and a bottle of olive oil. You know, well, they mention olive oil and almond oil and different oils. You know, Dr. Stewart talks about, he grew up Methodist, and he said that his minister would anoint people in church with vegetable oil. You know, which I don't mean to laugh, but he said, I think it's all about the intention, you know, and the prayerful mindfulness of what you're doing. But he said, but in the Bible, that when they used the vegetable oils, they were infused with essential oils, and it's the essential oils that enhance the spiritual experience and help our bodies heal. So, so the essential oils, the way I always teach it is that essential oils are the lifeblood of the plant. It's the essence of the plant. It's the part of the plant that smells. It's the aromatic part. You know, when you smell like corn oil or canola oil or olive oil, it doesn't really have much of a smell. The essential oils do. They are the oil that is usually either cold pressed for citrus or steam distilled to separate it from the plant, and it's so super concentrated. You guys help me out. 1 drop of peppermint will make how many cups of peppermint tea?
28.
28, thank you. So it's so super concentrated. And then the fatty oils, those do not come through steam distillation. Those are pressed out of the seeds. So essential oils come from the bark, the leaves, and they have to be extracted through distillation or pressing. And they have a really tiny molecular structure. That's the difference. They have a tiny molecular structure so that they can go into the cells of our bodies. The seed oils, the carrier oils we call them, we mix them together so we can spread them more easily, but they spread easily because they don't go into the skin. The essential oils seep in through the skin into our bodies, but the fatty oils do not. So so when we talk about oils in the Bible, they were talking about both. I usually include a short discussion of why essential oils from Young Living are so much more powerful than any other oil that you can get, and it's because this is the difference mainly. It's our distillation process. If you guys don't know this, did you know that Gary Young he noticed that he got a higher quality of oil if you had a cone-shaped, if you look in this picture here, cone-shaped rather than dome-shaped lid on the distiller. He got a higher quality of oil because it would like recirculate it. And because he's just a fanatic about testing, it's like, And so it's not just that we do slow distillation, which is a big part of it, because you can put the stuff in there and just boil the crap out of it, to speed up the process, but you don't get as high a quality of oil. You can also put more water and distill it some more and get like second, third, fourth distillation, and it still smells, but it's not as powerful. So the reason Young Living oils are so much better is because of the careful process that they go through, that seed to seal, all the way from choosing the best seeds, growing it in pesticide-free environments. Did you know that they actually use their own essential oils to keep the bugs off the plants? And those of us who have been to the farm in Mona, and you go out there and you look at the lavender, you'll see some weeds, because they're not just spraying, poison all over it. Anyway, so they actually had distilling processes back in ancient times in Egypt and Greece and in the Near East as well. And Gary Young has just taken it to another level of trying to get the highest quality oil possible. Okay, plants were given to us on the third day of creation. And when I teach this class, I think I like to come from a more spiritual aspect. And if you read this book, Healing Oils of the Bible, it's I guess you could say very churchy, but you can also look at it from a scientific perspective. And I teach an entirely different class called Raising Your Vibration with Essential Oils. And essentially it's the same thing. It's just this one I put in biblical terminology, and the other one I use more scientific terminology. But to me, it's pretty much the same thing. So actually, I'd like to read this part from the book, What Makes Essential Oils Special. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Thus begins the Gospel of St. John. The creation story of Genesis begins with the statement, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Following that, we find God speaking his creation into existence by his very word. And God said, let there be light. And God said, let there be a firmament. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. We find the phrase, and God said, 9 times in the first chapter of Genesis. And he says, word is a vibration, a frequency, a consciousness, an expression of energy. And I hadn't really thought of that before. The whole thing of like speaking things into existence. But speaking is vibration. If you put your hand right here and say something, you feel the vibration. And he says, when God created the plants by his speaking voice, he imbued them with his word and his intelligence. This includes the oils of the plants, which he intended from their very creation to become our medicines when we need healing. And I think that's really interesting. So when we talk about essential oils from a biblical perspective, they are gifts. They're nature's gifts. They're God's gift to us for food and for healing. That's what, anyway, that's how we're looking at this. And jump in if you have some comments or some questions.
I'd like to comment, Karen.
Yeah.
You know, you can go on to say, because what you said was beautiful and true, and is all it took was God speaking to breathe life into everything. And God gave us everything we need on this planet to live and to thrive. And part of that was the essential oils, which is cool beans.
It is. Yeah. And as you were talking, it just reminded me, since we're doing the game plan, when she talks about speaking, speaking over your business, there's power. There's power to that. Yeah. Not like God's power. I mean, but yeah, I love that. Yes. Okay. And then when he talked about the different oils, so there's oil for the light. Those would be like the vegetable oils, the fatty oils that would burn. Spices for anointing oil and for sweet incense from Exodus. The word anointment actually is an ointment, and the biblical ointments were always composed of essential oils. And this other slide, I guess it's later. When you anoint yourself with an oil, when you put an oil on the bottoms of your feet, or you put frankincense on the top of your head. Anybody do that? Frankincense on top of your head? I know Gary Young's, he puts frankincense on his head every day. But when you put an oil onto your body, you are not just changing the chemistry of your body, but the frequency of your body. And this sounds kind of woo-woo weird, but it's true. Our bodies, well, everything is vibration. Everything is electrical, at some point. And our bodies vibrate between 62 and 78 megahertz when we're healthy. And when we start to get sick, our frequency goes down. You can measure it. I've even said before, like, I just don't have any energy. And you don't have any electrical energy. Your body, when it's sick, it goes down, down, down. And the interesting thing is that essential oils start at 46 megahertz and go as high as 580. That's Idaho blue spruce is the highest vibrating. Rose oil vibrates at 320 megahertz. The essential oils vibrate higher even than the plants themselves. Like peppermint oil vibrates higher than the peppermint plant because it's so concentrated. So when you anoint yourself with those oils, it can bring your vibration up. It can help you be healthier. Okay. Questions about that? No? Okay. So the biblical meaning of anointing, the Hebrew word for anoint was masach, which means to smear, to spread, or massage. And I've seen a video. If you go on YouTube, you can watch Dr. Stewart teaching this class, and he will usually call a volunteer up to the front and sit them there, and it's usually a woman, and he'll dump this stuff on her head and just kind of massage it there while he's talking about this. In India, they talk about this being your crown chakra, that place where you connect to the divine. I think that that's really interesting too. But they never did just like olive oil or vegetable oil. It was always some kind of a carrier oil, and then cassia or hyssop or frankincense and something to anoint. So many of these oils, when we look at them individually, so many of them are for purification and for cleansing. And the science backs that up. Like those that are high in phenols do have like a cleansing. They clean the receptor cells, the recepting points of your cells. So, okay, how to use any essential oil aromatically, which we usually will just diffuse it or put it on our hands, or some of these oils that are really expensive. Like I finally bought rose oil. I don't diffuse it, I'll tell you that. I just take the lid off and go, yeah, it's so expensive. But aromatically, it's going to go straight through the olfactory bulb into the limbic part of the brain. It's going to go all through your body. Topically, You can put them on. I generally put things on the bottoms of my feet, especially if they're oils that don't smell that particularly great. But you can put them topically and then dietarily, which whenever I teach this class face to face, people are like, you can take them internally. And so kind of like Dr. Ollie, he said, yes, people take essential oils internally a lot. A lot of times flavorings like peppermint flavoring is essential oil. But frankincense, it doesn't taste good, but I'll usually just take a little, ooh, it smells good. Just take a little bit and put it, you can put, doesn't taste good, but you can ingest it. You can ingest most of them, not some like cassia. The ones in hyssop, the ones that have like a child-proof top, I don't ingest those. But I usually, when I teach this class, I go through and show them how to put like a drop here and breathe and topically use it in a capsule or under the tongue. Do any of you put a drop of frankincense under your tongue? I know Nora does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't taste very good, but good for you.
Jason,
Okay.
a shot of Ningxia that tastes just fine.
Ah, there you go. Okay. I wanted to mention there's a podcast called Oil Revolution. Does anybody listen to that podcast? It's called Oil Revolution, and there was an entire like 40-minute session on sandalwood that I listened to the other day and learned some other stuff. So if you've got this sandalwood, I can remember, when I was a teenager and I used to buy incense and burn incense because I didn't know any better. Sandalwood was one of my favorites. It's one of those that's really high in sesquiterpenes, so that means you kind of have to really sniff to get the smell. Those that are high in phenols, when you take the lid off, they just go everywhere. But these that are heavy, those are usually high in sesquiterpenes and kind of sticky too. So sandalwood, usually referred to as aloes in the Bible. It's also in Dreamcatcher, Gathering, Inspiration, White Angelica, Awaken, Harmony, Three Wise Men. It's one of the most important oils that we've got. It's made from a tree, and the tree, here I learned this, the tree has to be between 40 and 80 years old before they can harvest from it. And a lot of companies that are getting sandalwood, they are not being sustainable with it, and they're chopping the trees down too young.
I read Game Plan this morning.
Huh?
That was from Game Plan. I read that just today.
Oh, was it? Yeah, maybe so. Well, it was on that's probably where they got it. That was in the podcast too. And so, but sandalwood is really, really good for all kinds of anything for your skin. It was traditionally used in meditation, anointments, burial preparations. Historically, we're talking about the Greeks and lots of different cultures. It's been recognized for strengthening the heart, supporting the lymphatic system, calming the nerves, meditation and prayer. Okay. We're beginning to investigate the immune supporting qualities of sandalwood now. It is 90% sesquiterpenes. And the sesquiterpenes, Dr. Stewart talks about PMS. He said the PMS, those are like the three chemical constituents that you will find in essential oils. P for phenols, and the M for monoterpenes, and the S for sesquiterpenes. That those are the three chemical constituents that really help us the most. And sesquiterpenes, they're finding that they're really good at deprogramming miswritten information in the DNA. And sesquiterpenes also are great for oxygenating. So that oxygenates, and that's probably where the immune stuff comes in. We have
people to mute themselves if they're not talking so we don't get noise.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep. Yeah, just click, there's a little microphone down in the left bottom, and you can just mute yourself, and then you can click it back on if you want to talk, and then because you get sort of this weird reverb feedback. Now, Karen, you use the sandalwood cream, don't you?
I
Yeah.
love it. Uh-huh.
And I use the lemon sandalwood soap. I love, love, love it. It's my favorite. I've tried them all. Well, actually, I just got the Thieves soap, and I'll try it. But I love the lemon sandalwood. Oh, I was going to mention that we have I don't know if you guys have noticed. So we have aloes that comes in the Bible, and we also have two different kinds of sandalwood. We have sacred sandalwood, and we also have the Royal Hawaiian sandalwood. And this is because we're trying to have a more sustainable reach, I guess you could say. So we have, originally sandalwood comes from India. And that's why they had so many spices and oils and stuff right there in the Bible area, because people were coming from India, China, and then headed to Africa. And so they had like all these access to all these different oils. But the Royal Hawaiian sandalwood, that one is Santalum paniculatum. Yeah. Santalum paniculatum or paniculatum. Anyway, it's a little bit different species. But what's cool about our partner farm in Hawaii on the Big Island, I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's a reclamation project. It's where the land had pretty much been raped, and so they are using it just for sandalwood. So our Royal Hawaiian sandalwood comes from that reforestation project on the Big Island of Hawaii. And then we also have a farm in Australia where we get the East Indian, the Santiam. Oh, here, I think I've got it on another slide. No, maybe not. Anyway, where did I write it? Santalum. Anyway, the other kind, the other kind of sandalwood. Anyway, it's one of the wonderful, wonderful oils, and you can order it. It's not cheap, but now you know why, because if the tree has to be 40 years old before you can even very carefully harvest a little bit of the bark, the woods, so that you can get some oil. That's why. Cassia. I love cassia, and Karen has a story about cassia. If you, oh, it smells like cinnamon, only better. It's in the cinnamon family. It almost smells like a Red Hot. You know, those little candies. Oh, it smells divine. And it was an ingredient in Moses' anointing oil in Exodus 30. Used for strength and consecration. I can see that. I mean, it's a strong smell, and it seems to sort of envelop me whenever I smell it. Anyway, I love cassia. You can diffuse it. It supports healthy kidneys. It supports your respiratory system, and yes, you can see it. It would be really good in a perfume. Yeah. Always use V6 mixing oil when using cassia on the skin. Karen, you want to share what happened?
Oh, I just put some right here on my wrists, and a little while later I noticed it had turned pinkish red. So then I went to the kitchen and grabbed some olive oil and rubbed it on, and that took care of it.
And you were anointed. There you go. Yeah, so it's a hot oil, so just be careful with it. Love cassia. Cedarwood. Now you can get cedarwood, and it's one of the cheaper oils. I love cedarwood. Oh, it has almost a sweetness to it. And I think because I'm so spastic, I really like cedarwood because it's very grounding. In fact, it's one of the oils in our grounding. It's also in highest potential. Inspiration, Sacred Mountain, which I love. It's in the Tranquil roll-on, which Sabrina and I were talking about. Yeah, we use the Tranquil roll-on every night, and it's got cedarwood in it. It's really good for your hair.
I use cedarwood in with my lavender to diffuse at night, and then I put it on my wrist as well. And yes, I use the Tranquil also. I sleep like a little baby. You know,
Yeah.
it increases your melatonin.
It does. That's right. It does increase melatonin. And Becky, she's not here tonight, I don't think. I can't see everybody who's here, but Becky uses lavender and cedarwood in a little mascara bottle and puts it on her eyelashes. It's like she did a Facebook class and she was like, y'all look, and she got her like face up here and like, yeah. So it's really good for all of your hair, and It's just really, really calming. Oh,
I put it on my diffuser necklace. I love it.
yeah, I do too. I really do. Um, so it's really good for emotional cleansing. That's probably also why I really love cedarwood, because spiritual cleansing, cleaning the temple instruments. Of course, I mean, a lot of these are, got to be compliant, are really good for cleaning. But also just cleaning out your spirit and all the junk that we, and I got a lot of junk, and I'm not talking about my booty, got that too. But all the stuff that I need to get rid of, I think that cedarwood is really, really good for that. It's a great natural insect repellent. Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, Sabrina, you said that. It helps increase melatonin. Okay, cypress. Cypress. Oh, Becky loves cypress. It smells kind of clean. It's another wood, also used for strength, consecration, for security, grounding. I've got a picture of the doors of St. Peter's Basilica. There they are, which I still haven't been to see. But after 1,200 years, they're still there. So cypress was used for building ships and houses by the ancient Phoenicians and the Cretans. Oh, yeah, it symbolizes life after death, and that even now, if you go around to cemeteries around the world, you'll see a lot of cypress trees. And they think that because the Hebrew word, it may be related to the Hebrew word gopher, so it may be the wood that Noah built the ark out of. It may have been cypress. So what is it good for? What is it good for? Improve circulation. It does. I need to be putting this on my legs every day. Becky swears by it, but it helps strengthen your blood capillaries. It also helps strengthen your teeth and your gums. And I learned it from this PowerPoint when I first found it. I think it really does help ease feelings of grief and loss. Because when I lost my mom this year, I diffused it a lot. I think trees, really all of the trees, but help make me feel better. You know, there's been a Japanese study about people who just go out forest walking, and I think it's the essential oils from the trees, you know, that the trees emit, and can't say that, but anyway, it really helps support their health. It helps lower stress. So again, I think it's what God put them here for. You know, when you think about the symbiotic relationship that we have with trees, that they exhale oxygen and we exhale what they need to breathe, you know, that, I don't know, there's just something to that. Frankincense, this is the one that everybody knows. Frankincense is in a lot of the blends that I love. Forgiveness, harmony, brain power. Brain power is expensive because it's got so many of these Bible oils, some of these rare ones, like the tree oils that are hard to get from the resin. Now, frankincense and myrrh come from a resin, a treasure. Oh, there's treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. And of course, frankincense is one of the oils that they brought to baby Jesus. And we can't say what frankincense is necessarily used for, but we can encourage people to go do research, to do a Google search, or go to www.pubmed.gov and do some research on what they're finding out about frankincense now. There's Gary Young sitting under a frankincense tree. So if you ever wondered what does a frankincense tree look like, it's kind of cool. Kind of like it looks kind of gnarly. And okay, so, and we also have two different kinds of frankincense. We have the regular one, and then we also have sacred frankincense. So this one in the picture is the Boswellia carteri, which is the regular frankincense. And then there's the Boswellia sacra, which is the sacred frankincense. And I like it better. I've been using Sheer Lumet moisturizer at night, but I used to use just coconut oil and the sacred frankincense and use that for my moisturizer. Now, These trees also have to be at least 40 years old before 1 drop of oil can be extracted. And the way they do that, it's actually a resin. So they would, poor little tree, they cut the tree and the tree oozes this resin out to heal itself. Same thing with myrrh, that both of those are resins. And around Christmas time, you can buy the resin from Young Living. They put out like their Christmas thing and you can get it. If you go to a Catholic church, when I got to go to Notre Dame, for Vespers, they had a big censer and they had frankincense in it, and he was walking around, with the smoke. So the way we get the oil is we get the resin from the tree and then we distill the resin to get the oil. So if you wonder why it's so expensive, it's really hard to get. But it's mentioned 52 times in the Bible, frankincense. It's good for respiratory support. It's good for emotional support. Good for your skin, as I mentioned. It's good for your immune system. It's overall good for everything, which is probably why they brought it to baby Jesus. You can anoint yourself. You can put it on top of your head if you don't want to get it all in your hair. A lot of times I'll put it right here on like what I guess Indian people would call like the third eye, but I'll put it here and then, sort of do that. I think it's really calming and putting me more into a receptive state, I think. Because when I'm praying, I'm listening more. I'm not really talking to God so much. I'm like listening. So that works for me. Anybody want to say anything else about frankincense?
Hey, Karen, I would.
Yeah.
Remember when we went to convention that first year and only year I've gotten to go, but one of my favorite things to tell people in any oil class is, okay, that 15 ml bottle has about 250 drops of frankincense in it, or of oil in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I make them guess how many drops of frankincense Gary Young ingests a day. And it's fun to see people go 10, 20, 40, and you ought to see the look on their face when I tell them 300 drops of frankincense a day is what Gary Young ingests. And he laughs and he gets a better discount than we do. But I also really highlight the point that Gary Young knows something that we don't, that he cannot legally say to us. So I always encourage people to go out there and Google frankincense, and then you can take them exactly where you want them to go on that.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Can I say something about that? You got to start low and go slow. I would not recommend anybody that has not been ingesting that amount of frankincense to try that. It will probably have a big reaction in your body.
No, definitely. But I do know I started my mother on frankincense, and she started on 30 drops, and she was fine.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. And then I guess we can talk about how great your mother is doing.
Okay, on another note, my mother was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer in December of last year and had 3 tumors, and 2 of them were on basically where her esophagus was and where her bronchial tubes entered her lungs. So they went after that with radiation, and then she went through some high-powered chemo. During the whole entire time, I had her on an oil regimen. So anyway, y'all can put 2 and 2 together from that last conversation. In July, we found out that the biggest tumor, which was not the one on the bronchial tubes, but the biggest tumor was actually gone, which we didn't think would be gone. We thought we'd have to radiate that one. And the 2 other tumors that were causing her to cough and couldn't breathe were decreased by 60%.
Wow.
So y'all can all put 2 and 2 together, and that's all I can really say about that.
You have to Forrest Gump it. That's all I have to say about that. Okay. Great. That's great. Okay, hyssop. I love the way hyssop smells. it's kind of clean and light, and it really is good for cleansing. Cleanse me with hyssop and I will be clean. Wash me and I will be whiter than snow. Traditionally, this is interesting, it was used in purification rituals, meditation, exercises. Ooh, that smells so good. And now we can say we can diffuse it to cultivate an environment of creativity and meditation. It's good for your respiratory system and for the nervous system. And this is what I find really interesting. It's good to help release swallowed emotions. Oh, there's a note on here. There are a few oils. Notice it says avoid use if you're epileptic or pregnant. You might want to do your research if you are helping somebody who's pregnant. There are some of these that, may not be good. But this is interesting. From Leviticus, ooh, I've got it all over me now. Good. From Leviticus, it says, then the priest shall command to take for him hyssop, and the priest shall pour the oil into the palm of his own left hand, put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, for someone to be cleansed. And then now we found, according to the auricular emotions chart, the top of the right ear is the nerve ending or the vitaflex point for guilt. And the right thumb and the right big toe are the nerve ending points for the pineal gland in the center of the brain, where the emotions are stored in the body. By applying this ancient wisdom today, we can experience emotional cleansing and healing with this application of hyssop. I think that's really interesting because, I mean, these points, that's really more, I guess, like Eastern Chinese sort of medicine. And yet here we find it in the Bible. Same thing. I've used hyssop because I've swallowed a lot of my emotions. And I also, when I would use release, I put release on, like over my liver, but I also did the release on, same thing, on my right big thumb, top of my ear, and on my right big toe before I would go to sleep. And I do have to tell you this, if you try that, does anybody have release oil? Yeah.
Yes,
you will have some really weird dreams. I will say you'll have some very strange dreams, but I think that it's releasing that. Something about the emotions, I have to say, about the Bible oils and what I think that they were doing. They wouldn't have put them in these terms now, but our emotions are in the limbic part of our brain, like the amygdala. And when we experience something traumatic, and I don't know, haven't we all? Surely. It's like you can't grow up without experiencing something traumatic. So when we experience something traumatic in the emotions, like Karen, you're a psychologist. You can probably explain this better than I can. But those, I think of it more like a file cabinet. Like you've got like, sometimes you can't even process it. So you will store that somewhere in your body. It stores it, and it can develop, I think, into diseases. I don't know if I can say that, but these oils go directly to that part of your brain. That part of your brain, that emotional brain, it doesn't think in terms of words or even pictures. It really is triggered even more by smell. Okay, here's the English teacher in me. There's a trilogy by a French writer, Marcel Proust, called Remembrance of Things Past. And the very first one, Swan's Way, begins with a guy smelling a little Madeleine, a little French cookie, and that's what, just that smell throws him all the way back into his childhood. And haven't you experienced that, where there's a smell, something like baking bread or some weird smell, and it immediately takes you back to a place? Haven't you all experienced that? Karen, am I even saying this correctly? Because this really isn't my area.
Yes. And there's more information about that in the Balancing Healthy Emotions class, where the old traumatic events are literally encoded in our tissues, and talking about issues helps them to release some, but essential oils, breathing and energy healing help them to get released even more.
Mm-hmm. And so I've just really found that interesting, all the way back in the Old Testament, that they're saying use hyssop, use this oil for cleansing and releasing all of that, all those negative emotions. Amazing. Okay, myrrh. I love myrrh. You can tell myrrh comes from I forgot to try to open my bottle. If you ever teach this class, make sure you can get your bottle of myrrh open before you start, because it's a resin like frankincense, but it kind of, I don't know if you can see that, it kind of tries to turn back into a resin. Look, that's actually the thing that's supposed to be in my bottle. Like, really? Ugh! Okay, so myrrh is a very sticky kind of an oil. Oh, but it smells so good. It's really good, again, for skin, it was used extensively in childbirth. They used to put it on the umbilical cord after they cut it, after the child was born. It's great for moisturizing your skin. It's good for stretch marks, scarring, all sorts of things like that too. They use it to prevent the stretch marks. Oral hygiene, it's really, really, I think our mouthwash uses myrrh. You can put it on cracked lips, wrinkles. If your skin is really sensitive, now I just rubbed it all over myself because I love myrrh. I'm so happy when I teach this class. I know it's because of these oils. But if you have sensitive skin, you can dilute it. Okay, myrtle. Questions about myrrh? I feel like I'm going kind of quickly here, but how are we doing on time? Yeah, probably need to go pick it up a little bit. Okay, myrtle. That's myrrh. Myrtle. Myrtle, myrtle. If you look at the bottom of this slide, it says it's also found in Inspiration, Endoflex, Purification, and RC. You know that kind of light grassy smell in Purification and RC? That's the myrtle. It's also, well, it was used for purification. And it's really good for your skin. Oh, maybe I need to put it right here. It's good for respiratory, supporting the thyroid, supporting general hormone balance, and it's fine for kids. It's a really nice, it's kind of like a grassy kind of a smell. Now, this Reverend Janet McBride, and this was on the PowerPoint that I found, she has written a book also. She's actually a Messianic Jew, and she's a musician, and she says, I'm a music minister and an avid student of ancient Hebrew customs. I discovered that in the time of King Solomon's temple, the singers would anoint their throats with the oil of myrtle, and the musicians would anoint their instruments with frankincense. I decided to do this before my own time of worship. I found it was necessary to apply the myrtle oil at least 30 minutes before the first song because the oil helps to clear the throat and the vocal cords in preparation for singing. The ancient oils of the Bible are still as relevant today for singers and musicians as they were 3,000 years ago. So if anybody sings, you might want to give that a little try. But you, Sabrina? Oh, there you go.
I need a lot more of that stuff.
I think you can get myrtle. You can get myrtle on its own. Mm-hmm. Now, this Onycha, you can't buy this by itself. All of these other oils you can buy by themselves, but Onycha, you can only get it in the kit. And it smells really, really good. Yes, you can apply it to your neck for prayer. It smells a little bit like vanilla. It's in that same, it has vanilla aldehyde, also found in the vanilla plant. You like it, Karen?
Uh-huh.
I think I can say this. This is what they used during the war in hospitals for cleaning. Okay, I'm not saying that healed anything. But they called it benzoin. So they'd make like a tincture with alcohol and Onycha, and they called it benzoin, and that's what they used to clean the hospitals because they didn't have everything that they needed. It's really good for respiratory system and digestion. But I love the way Onycha smells. But since you can only get it in the kits, I don't diffuse it. Rose of Sharon. Now, when you order this, it's called Cistus, and it smells really good too. It has a little bit of
Is that the one that stinks? Come on, let's be honest. One of these really, really stinks. I mean, it smells bad.
I think it's galbanum.
That's it.
Yep. Oh, God, yes, I'm sorry. Oh, all right.
I
Sorry.
guess covered body odor.
It's now I've had some people say, "Oh, I like it. It smells like grass and dirt." I'm like, "Oh, it kind of." But anyway, this is no galbanum is the.
It's
Oh, this is the
disgusting.
one, Sabrina. that He
Yeah,
said,
that's disgusting. I
"Yeah,
remember that.
yeah." He said that, like, why would galbanum be mentioned? And he said that biblically, it's like that Christ came for everybody. So that if you have just the ones that smell good,
Oh,
it's not
that's
for
just
everybody.
wrong. That's just wrong.
And it said that galbanum represents like the other.
The sinners.
Yeah, yeah. But we can't get this one anymore. So, but if you'd like to smell my bottle, I'd be happy to bring it. Oh man, I wish I hadn't said that. Now I got galbanum up my nose. Let me see if I can get some Rosa Sharon back up there. Ah, yeah. I tell you, with this big nose, yeah, I'm in the right job. Okay. Oh yeah, it's in the Ula Balance. It's I like it. It's good for the immune system. It's good for calming the nerves, elevating the emotions, supports healthy sinuses, and supports regeneration of cells. So it's a good healthy oil. Okay, so this kit. How much is this kit, Karen? I should have looked that up. Is it 129?
I got mine for free with my Essential Rewards points. So I don't know.
I think it's
Good
maybe
man.
125, which really is not bad if you get like 10 of these oils. And since you guys are all business builders, I would suggest getting this. I think that it's, I think it comes at the oils from a different angle, historically and spiritually, and it gives. If I mention frankincense and myrrh, when people they don't know what essential oils are, but they know about frankincense and myrrh, and that's a really good way to open up a conversation about it. And I have a lot of people that want to come to the Bible oils class because it's part of their spiritual practice, and they want to know more about it. Because a lot of people, it's like this is amazing to me. We had all of this knowledge in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and then it's like we just totally forgot. How wonderful these oils are. I guess the Industrial Revolution, right? Just like my mom said in the 50s and the 60s, breastfeeding was just, like science could do it so much better, to make formula to feed babies. And it was just frowned upon to breastfeed. Only poor women did that. It's like science sort of rose up and we've elevated it to the level that we used to have more spirit. God, I guess I'm just going to say it. Yeah. We've got, and so I think that a lot of people are hungry for this reconnection with nature, with God, with something better. So I think it's a really good conversation starter. It's a good class. This is my favorite one to do besides to do the 101. And then my very next recommended one would be this one, I think. And then this, I adjusted this to 10 instead of 12, but this woman in Boulder, so if you got to watch Karen do the simplified version of the raindrop, she said that she does the raindrop with the Bible oils and has had wonderful responses from her clients. And it's after reading a little bit about the chemistry, I'm still learning about the chemistry, but I think it has this very same effect. So when you've got those that are high in the phenols to sort of clean off the cell receptors, and then you've got those high in sesquiterpenes that help rewrite the DNA, that's been damaged. So it probably does do. It smells better. Well, I don't know. If you like to smell like a pizza, go with the raindrop. And
hey, I got my raindrop today, and I smell great.
I wish we could smell you, Karen. If you teach this class, mention the Bible oils kit, but I always tell people that frankincense is the most versatile and one of the very best oils, and that they can get frankincense in the premium starter kit with the other oils. I remind them that copaiba is from South America, and it is actually straight tapped out of the tree. but that it seems to be sort of like the frankincense of South America, you know, that peppermint, that these are the common oils in our area, maybe more than the Middle East, that the Bible oils were more common in the Middle East, and that these oils that we get here, you know, maybe are more common where we are, but that these are the ones to get started. And if they want to, then they could just add on the Bible kit later. But I would encourage them to get started with the premium starter kit and to start on an oily journey, to start bringing, like, to get rid of toxins from their homes and their bodies, and to start bringing, I would say, bringing God back into their lives, you know, it helps with the spiritual connection. Okay. I feel like somebody like, oh, and these are the 2 books. I haven't ordered Scriptural Essence yet. I really would like to read that as well. But this Healing Oils of the Bible, it's the bomb diggity. You really need to get this. And just like Game Plan has that script in the back, he's got, like I said, this whole, Seventh Heaven. He's got a lot more about the different oils and a whole script that you could do at church, both a big long program and a short program. And of course, then you've got this PowerPoint. Anyway, so lots of good information in there. Any questions? Resources?
This was great. Are you going to share the PowerPoint?
Did I not put it in there yet?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Anybody looked? Maybe I haven't. Yeah, I'll put it in the Dream Builders team.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
And
Good job,
I
Karen.
guess, see where it says Aroma Cats and my number down at the bottom? You guys could just download it, and then if you join the Oil Design Revolution, then you can get your own and just kind of plug those in. It didn't take me too long to combine the 2 PowerPoints. And somebody, Debbie, didn't I send you the non-compliant one?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, but this Healing Oils of the Bible, most of that information from that part, it came from here.
All right.
And
The non-compliant one, only use that for yourself. Don't share that one, please.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I would recommend this Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple too. Even though it doesn't look very simple. He writes so well. I mean, if I can wrap my ink, okay, maybe not these kinds of pictures. I need some more training on the stuff, but he writes about it in a way that, okay, I can understand this, you know, isoterpenes and how things stick together and that kind of thing.
Who was the author of that?
Huh? He's David Stewart, the same guy who wrote Healing Oils of the Bible.
Thank you.
There it is.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. I am going to stop share and I guess pause, stop recording. Oh, who is Charu Mashwush? Who's that person?
One of my Reiki students.
Hey!
Woo, yay!
Okay, I'm going to stop recording and then we can talk.
Okay. Who is
I may
Ace?
put this on YouTube if it's okay. I'll go back and look at it and see.
Okay.